Hello, you guys. It's me, Lise Perez, your Master Embodiment Coach and author. I hope you guys are doing well and you guys are having a beautiful day. What I wanted to talk to you guys about is overcoming fear, which is, it's always an interesting topic to talk about, right? Because so many people say they want to overcome fear, or they want to let go of their fears, but it's really easier said than done. And so I'm here to kind of talk to you a little bit about that. Good, awesome, thank you. And so we can figure things out together. So please like, share, and subscribe to this video, and don't forget to hit the little bell on the on the top, and you can receive my notifications of when I go live next. I do go live every single day, and so that would be awesome. So I wanted to start off with a quote by Waldo Emerson, and it says, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." And while I like Waldo Emerson's quotes, I agree to disagree with this. No offense to him, but only because, so it says, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." Well, that's awesome, but I have a fear of spiders, and well, I'm not going to be frigging grabbing a spider anytime soon. So that's why I agree to disagree. So when I agree to the statement when we're talking about fear in business and in our professional careers and our personal growth, right? That's when I agree to the statement. So stay till the end of this video, and I'll share with you a few key strategies that you can do if you're currently in this boat and you're sitting with your fear and it's just not allowing you to continue. So first things first, guys, we need to figure out what fear is, because that is a little bit of a tricky business, right? Because so many people have a fear of, as I said, spiders, bugs, people say negative people say toxic energy, right? And then when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's a lot of fear in regards to putting yourself out there, showing up when you need to show up, taking the actions for whatever reason. And in fact, psychologists actually say fear to them states fantasized experiences appearing real. Now, what does that mean? And I actually say something a little bit different, although this makes sense. I always say face everything and rise, or the acronym of fear is, fear everything and run, right? Or face everything and rise. And so I use that one quite a bit, and I came across this one today, and it was really, really interesting because, fantasized experiences appearing real. Now, when we have fear, what happens? It's generally a self-creation in our mind. When it comes to business, for all the entrepreneurs in the house, when it comes to business, right, we garner this fear that the business won't work, or that we'll stay in scarcity, or we'll stay in poverty, or we just won't make any money. But what happens is that fear is a self-creation. It's like a kind of like a little bit of a man-made process only in our minds, because we fantasize experiences, we dream, we bring visions into our minds that the business won't be successful even if we tried. And you don't even have to start your business. You can be on the brink of starting your business, and then things will happen in your mind, and your BS stories will come out to play, and the negative energy will come out to play, and your mind will just tell you, be like, okay, your business is not going to work, and you might not make a lot of money, and if you do, it won't be a whole lot, and so we create these visions in our mind that haven't even happened yet. And so because of those visions, we bring them into our reality, we inhibit them, and we embody these visions, and the whole reality of it hasn't even happened yet, right? It's like it's all in our imagination. Fear tends to be self-created, where it becomes all in our imagination, and we've created this reality that hasn't even happened yet. It doesn't matter if you haven't started your business yet, or if you were on the brink of starting your business, or whatever the case may be, right? You've created this vision in your mind, and so therefore it's like, ooh, I don't know if it's going to work, right? You start coming up with these limiting beliefs that you tell yourself. You start coming up with these, lies that you tell yourself, right? I spoke about the old story versus new story before, and I spoke about BS stories. You tell yourself all of these things, and then you're like, oh no, I can't do that because this is going to happen. You've already estimated what's going to happen. You've already visualized it in your head. That's why psychologists is like, fantasized experience is appearing reality, because you've already visualized it. And even though you haven't even done a single thing about your business yet, you're already convinced that it hasn't worked because you've envisioned that it hasn't. But what if you could change that? And that's why, and because of that, fear becomes self-sabotaging as well. I spoke about different ways to overcome self-sabotage. Please check it out. It was a few days ago. I'll even pop the link in the comments after I'm done this live, right? Because it does tend to become self-sabotaging because you've experienced the outcome of your whole project or your whole vision of if it's already happened in your mind. Then you're going to self-sabotage yourself. You end up self-sabotaging yourself if you listen and you give in to your fear. So keep that in mind when you're starting a project, when you're doing something, when you want to start your business, or you want to take the trip by yourself, and maybe you've never taken a trip by yourself before, right? But you and all of a sudden, I don't know, like you're like, what if I get sick on this trip? What if this? What if that? Right? You've already started creating a vision for yourself. So please keep that in mind, that fear can be self-sabotaging, and it's a self-creation. But it's also, besides fear being a self-creation, like a man-made thing that you put in your mind for whatever reason, fear can also be instilled fear can also be instilled in you from since you were little, aka limiting beliefs. So if your grandparents or your parents had a limiting belief about their business not working, or maybe they were entrepreneurs and they tried their business and they lost a lot of money, invested time, effort, and funds in the business, and it just never worked for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't take the action. I don't know what the reasoning is. But then you tell them, you're like, I want to be an entrepreneur, and then they instill this fear in you. They instill their own limiting belief. It translates back into you, and you start embodying it, and so therefore it also becomes self-sabotaging. So that's why it becomes a self-creation in our mind. So please keep that in mind when you're moving forward with your business, right? Most of my videos talk about entrepreneurship, pretty much all of them. Entrepreneurship, mindfulness, mindset, physiology, and so keep that in mind when you're, when you want to do something, when you want to show up for yourself, when you want to show up for your business. It's important to really keep that in mind. Like, are these limiting beliefs that I tackle myself, or were they basically given to me, not so much as a gift, but more kind of like a little bit of a curse that we have to undo, right? And so yeah, it's super, super important. Now, even though psychologists say that fear, the acronym states fantasized experience is appearing real, instead of visualizing what might happen, and of course when we have a fear instilled into our hearts, what happens? We visualize what might happen, and it's not such a great thing. It's not such a great concept, or in positive context of any nature, but it ends up being a negative context, right? As I said, what if I fail? That's a question that I get asked a lot of times. That's a question that I've asked myself many times over. What if I fail, right? What if it doesn't work? But if you were to switch that around, which I'll talk about in a minute, but if you were to switch that around and be like, dude, what if it does? What if it does work? What if I am successful? What if, even though my family or even though my grandparents were not successful in their business, what if I was, right? You start to switch it around. You, instead of having a negative context towards the whole fear thing, right, the whole emotion, you have a positive context and be like, it didn't work for them, but what if it works for me, right? You start to switch it around, and instead of thinking what might happen in the negative context, you start to visualize, my gosh, what if it does happen? What if it does work? Right? It's all up to us here. It's all up to our physiology. It's all up to our mindset. So this is really, really important. Now, next piece is like, so a lot of questions that I get asked as well, and that I've also asked myself, and I'm sharing my experiences, is how do we overcome fear? Just how do we do it? Because it's a lot of times people are, especially, budding entrepreneurs, right? They want to have their business, especially now in the pandemic. I believe that we've been given a gift of time here. So anything that we didn't have time for before, or that we've used as an excuse, right, to not do the thing we wanted to do, I don't have time to write a book. I don't have time to start my business. I don't have time to supplement my income. I don't have time to do this. Well, guess what, guys? Now you have time. So what can you do? What can you do in order to overcome your fears, right? So that instead of saying you don't have time, or instead of telling yourself that excuse all the time, now you can really focus on it and analyze in what you can do in order to overcome your fear. So number one here is, firstly, recognizing it. Yes. And as I mentioned, I completely agree. I recognize that I have a fear of spiders, but I won't be holding on a spider anytime soon. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, you're recognizing your fear. So if you have a fear of showing up, say live, you recognize it, maybe even journal it a little bit. Journaling helps a lot. And be like, okay, so I've had a fear for a long time of public speaking. That was my fear. That's partially, I'll be honest, continues to be a little bit of my fear, right, is public speaking. So like speaking on stages of thousands of people. And ironically, that's one of my goals. That's one of my visions, is to speak on stages, right, to hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, right, sharing my story, sharing my message, sharing my vision of what I have for the world, of how I choose to impact the world, right, sharing my gifts. Now, if that is one of your fears that you need to overcome, it's really important to really recognize it. And as I said, journal and be like, okay, so I have a fear of public speaking. Now, how can I overcome it, right? Or why do I have a fear of public speaking? It could have been a limiting belief that was passed along to you, that you inhibited and that you embodied, right? It could have very well been that, and from years. But if you learn to recognize it, then you're able to tackle it head on, right? Rather than dwindle in it, and rather than be like, okay, I have a fear of public speaking. Oh well, I guess I just won't fulfill my dream of speaking on stages. I'll just deal with this fear, and you'll allow it to self-sabotage you. Aha, self-sabotage, that is a big one here, like huge one, right? So it's really, really important to recognize it. Now, another one which ties in is, what is it that you're afraid to do? Do you have a fear of public speaking? Why do you have a fear of public speaking? Ask yourself why. Go through self-reflection and be like, I've had a fear of public speaking for years, and I don't understand why. And you don't even have to explain to anyone. You don't have to explain to anybody. You don't have to really, seek advice from other people. You can from a coach such as myself, right? Because then we can help you tackle it, and we can help you overcome your limiting beliefs and your blocks, and bring you into a more positive mental state, right? But when you're able to, one, recognize it and ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid to do, right? I would love to show up. I would love to show up for my story. I would love to show up for my message. And I want to do it on YouTube Live or on Facebook Live. But you are scared crapless. I try not to swear. You are scared crapless, right? Ask yourself why. Is it a fear of judgment, right? Because when you have a fear, for example, of showing up for your story and you want to go Facebook Live, but you are terrified of going Facebook Live, chances are it's because you're afraid that people will judge you. One, you're afraid that people will judge you, so insert fear of judgment here. And two, you are afraid, or you believe that your story is not good enough, right? So you're not necessarily afraid of your story, but you have a fear that people won't believe that your story is good enough, and like, you know, what are you doing here? Like, you know, for example, just to give you a kind of quick corny example, let's just say a comedian, right? A comedian that is just starting out, maybe he's not that funny, but he goes on stage and he embodies in his entire fear, and he just goes in and he walks in and he tries to kill it on stage, but he's just not funny. And then and then people are like, you know, get off the stage, just don't do that, please. Just, you know, get off, you're not funny, you suck, right? And just, you know, throws, I don't know, gum at them, throws food, throws whatever. And he walks in and he walks off the stage kind of sulking. Now, is that why you won't go live? Is that why you won't show up for your story? Because of that? Because you're afraid that people will judge you, and you're afraid that your story is not good enough, and that people will be like, get off the stage or stop doing live, you suck? Like, if that is, it's really, really important to figure that out so that you can tackle it. Because when you can figure it out, even if it's been years, doesn't matter, time doesn't really make a difference here. If you can figure out what your fear is, then you can tackle it head on, right? And as I said, even if it's been years that you've had it, but if you can really self-reflect on that and figure it out, then you can find a way and go through strategies in order to rid yourself of that fear, in order to overcome your fear, right? So keep that in mind. Another one is recognizing physical effects. And what do I mean here? What happens, like, I'll just give you an example. When I'm scared of spiders, when I see a spider walking around and it's near me, or heck, it doesn't even need to be near me, if it's in the same room, I'll, you know, like a cat, I'll kind of, you know, put my tail between my legs. I'll go like this, and I'll be like, oh my God, like, you know, shivers go up my spine. I feel like the hairs are standing on top of, like, standing straight up on my body. And I'm like, you know, some people bite their teeth, bite their lips. Some people bite their nails, right, out of nervousness, because it gives them complete anxiety to go through with their fear, right? Especially when they're scared of something. So, and they're hunchbacked. They're not like positive and confident like this, right? But they're like this, and they put their head down, and they're not sure what's going to happen. So when you can recognize your physical abilities or your physical state when you're scared, then you're able to tackle it as well. You're able to overcome it, right? You can become self-aware of it. So like the example that I used, if you're scared of going live on Facebook, you know, you have anxiety, your heart beats really, really, really fast, as if you just worked out forever, or as if you just ran without any breath. You can't breathe, you feel like you're pukey, you feel like you're choking, you feel like, you know what I mean, right? When you can recognize that, then you're able to tackle you're able to tackle it and be like, okay, this needs to stop, because this is completely self-sabotaging me. I had such a fear of public speaking, and as I said, I still kind of do, and I'm getting better at it. I know I am, but Facebook Live was one of them. Why? Because I had a fear of judgment, which I spoke about, and I had a fear that my story was not good enough to share with the world, especially on Facebook Live. I don't know who's watching. I don't know if people will watch. I don't know what happens with it. So I just had a fear of it, and I started envisioning things in my head that it was like, oh my gosh, like, what if people don't watch? What if people are like, oh my gosh, she doesn't have a degree for this, or she shouldn't be talking about this? Whatever the case may be, I created, like, as psychologists say, fantasized experiences appearing real. So I created this fantasy in my mind that tells me that it's like, oh no, your message sucks and you shouldn't be sharing it, and you should just keep it bottled in. But I had to tackle that. I had to recognize it, and believe you me, I started going live January 1st pretty much every single day, right? Because I made a commitment to do 365 days of Facebook Lives, and you know, I went to YouTube starting on day 200. But January 1st, if you guys watch my video, it's like, you can tell I was nervous. You can tell, like, you know, I was talking quiet. I wasn't really moving around. You know, I had every single time I talked for the first few lives, I was like, my gosh, what if people don't like my message? What if people, this? And I started creating these fantasies with myself, and I almost quit, right? Because I almost self-sabotaged myself because of that, because of my physical state, right? And because of the mentality that I was putting on myself, that I was portraying on myself. So it wasn't a great thing. So recognize your physical state when you want to tackle your fear. That'll really, really help you to overcome. Visualization is a good one too, and that's the last point here. And there's a couple of things you can do to visualize. Is vision boards, self-reflection, and journaling is what I put here. Pop into the comments if you have other ways to visualize that have helped you overcome your fear, right? I use vision boards a lot, and you just run with your fear. And when you can visualize what you want to do, I spoke yesterday about my why, about understanding your why and remembering your why, and so when you can visualize your fear and you can put it on a vision board and be like, you know what, my vision is to public speak on stages for millions of women. When you can put that on your vision board and you can journal about it and you can visualize it and you can, and it doesn't even have to be on a vision board, but you can visualize it through meditation or just sit there, give yourself the gift of time and just sit there and just close your eyes and visualize what's going on with you or your vision. Then you'll able to overcome it because you'll remember it, because that becomes part of your why, that becomes part of your story and your vision, and it becomes part of your message and your vision to impact all across the globe if that's what you want to do. So when you can remember that, it becomes a beautiful thing, because then you're able to, as I said, remember your why, and you're able to remember your visualization. You understand your vision, and it's so clear, it's like crystal clear, that then something like fear will never stop you. You won't fantasize experiences appearing real. You won't fantasize any of that, and if you do, it's going to be experiences that are on the longevity scope, and that becomes a beautiful thing for your vision and for your future and for your legacy, right? You start remembering your legacy. So that's just a few things that I wanted to talk about here today. So again, if you guys like this video, if you resonated with this and you love this video, if you love this video, then please like, share, and subscribe, and share with your friends, share with your family, share with people who may have a fear of something, and just, share it all across the globe. So, and don't forget to hit the little bell. I go live every single day, and you can receive my notifications of when I go live next. So that is what I want to talk to you about. Once again, my name is Lisa Perez, your Master Embodiment Coach for YouTube. So I hope you all is well, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, run with the fear rather than away from it. So you guys are amazing. God bless you. Stay empowered. Bye.